Yes, I'm back with another live. Some of these lives I'm not going to be keeping up either. So if you happen to hop on the live when we talking about some good stuff, then please go ahead and watch it while you can, because you know when we talk the good stuff, might end up taking it down because what we might be talking about. So what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? In this live, we're going to talk about some personal development and having accountability and some focus on priorities. Accountability and priorities within this personal development journey, right? Definitely have to have some accountability and lay the groundwork for your goal by having priorities in your work, in your task, in whatever endeavor that you're trying to achieve, right? So what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm trying to wait till the algorithm kick in, have some people pop on here so we can talk about it, you know? Talk about having some personal development and accountability with your priorities. Right? And what I'm talking about is taking responsibility and accountability for what's going on in your life. If there's something that you can change, if there's something that you can address, have some solutions to, go ahead and work it out. That's some parts of having that accountability, right? Taking accountability for lack of not doing what you're supposed to do in regards to your priorities. You got to get our priorities in focus, right? Get your priorities in focus, everything down packed. And once you have your priorities and your goals and stuff in focus, then you have to take accountability for your task, for taking a task or your lack of taking a task. And these are some key things that I'm learning in this journey of personal development, right? Accountability is a big thing. Larry the Boom! What's going on? Thank you for logging in. Thank you. Appreciate you for being on here. What's your ideas about that, Larry, when I'm talking about it? You know, accountability, having your priorities set up straight. And once you have your priorities straight, are you taking accountability for your lack of, or if you are taking task, are you giving yourself credit for taking the task, right? Could you say my son's nickname? Gers? I don't know what that is, but let's get back into the talking about the accountability. I'll try to do it later. I'm not exactly sure how I can pronounce it, but I'm gonna get back into it. But taking accountability and setting up your priorities. What's your priorities? 1, 2, 3. Your priorities, your health, your mental health, your physical health. Your priorities should be making sure that you're financially literate. That's a good thing. Priorities, taking care of your family. Priorities, taking care of what's needed to take care of in order to be a good citizen of this world, right? So you line up your priorities with your goals, and you make sure you have accountability about those priorities, right? So if you're not acting on a certain priorities and you're lacking on that priority, and even somebody address you or even, you know, criticize you, whether it's good criticism or bad criticism, take accountability if you find yourself slacking or lacking on the parts that you're supposed to be, right? Take accountability for choices and decisions, right? And make sure your choices and decisions is lined up with your priorities, which also will be lining up with your goals and aspects of life, right? and have it on a positive moral compass, right? You don't be having no negative thoughts. Something bad happened, somebody rub you the wrong way. Try not to, you know what they say, eye for eye. Try not to retaliate. Try not to have that karma type mentality. Like, you did something bad to me, when I'm gonna do something bad to you, right? Negotiate that aspect of life and go through it, knowing that you have the right moral concept in your life and the mindset, right? Having the right moral concept, lining up your priorities the right way, right? And not just letting life happen. Set up the priorities and attest to those priorities. Because you say my son's nickname, Gurris, he really wants to. Is it Gurris? I hope I'm saying it right. So shout outs to Gurris. Gurris, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not messing it up. Larry the Boom Bomb. Shout outs to Larry the Bada bing, bada boom. I started signaling like a block away. Make sure they know that I'm about to take this. So yeah, so back to what I was saying, right? Personal development is it's a journey, yo. It's a journey. Like, when you start focusing on personal development and you're working on yourself 1% better, that's the key goal. 1% better. 1% better each and every day. So you can't beat up on yourself also for not taking the necessary steps, right? You can't beat up on yourself because you're lacking on, what do they say, lacking on the tenacity of taking action, right? So don't beat up yourself, but revamp, rejuvenate, look at the whole plan, look at the whole picture, get the priorities and the morals in straight, and you take accountability. You can write down the priorities, write down your goals, right? Write down your goals and then say, okay, I have to make this a priority. I have to take care of this within the next month. You know what? I find myself getting more in debt. My priorities, getting out of debt, making stuff right, setting up stuff right for the future. Whether you have family, friends, my generation, a lot of us in my generation, I don't even remember what generation it is, but it's not the baby. Is it Gen Z? No, Gen X. I gotta check. I think it's Generation Y. Yeah, because then you got the millennial one. But whatever, like, right? So the generations between millenniums, the ones before the millenniums, and even Gen Z, right? They find it, not even Gen Z as much, but millenniums and the ones before millenniums, finding ourselves in what they call a silent generation. So we're at that point where we have to take accountability and priorities of our children's, not even just our children, our offsprings that we have. Oh man, they gotta clean that up right there. Not only the children and offspring that we have, but we also have to take care into consideration for our parents, the older generation. So then we find ourselves in the silent generation because you're taking care of your kids, and then after that now, you're taking care of your parents. So we're in between a certain kind of, I don't want to say not a statistic or anything, but we're in a certain kind of, I don't want to say predicament or nothing like that, but we're having certain criteria that we have to take care of, and being part of the silent generation. Let me know if you ever heard of this saying before, silent generation. So the silent generation is a generation that's right now are taking care of their children in addition to taking care of their parents. Also, including that silent generation, you could be taking care of your parents, you could be taking care of your kids, and you could be taking care of your grandkids. So the silent generation right now has a lot on our plates, right? Besides having a lot on our plates, there's a lot of priorities and things that come into play with that. So other than taking care of ourselves, our family, right? Then we have to take care of our parents. Then we have to take care of our kids. So we in between, like a what you call it, like a seesaw thing, right? So we're putting our energy to ourselves, of course, trying to make sure we're healthy and things like that. So you have to make sure that your priorities straight with your health, with your mental health, with financing, with personal finance, and be a personally literate, right? And I didn't even put my earpiece in. I hope this audio is coming out straight. I'm not gonna be on here too long. But priorities, right? Lining up the priorities right and having accountability now. So say you setting up your priorities right, and you're supposed to be taking care of your parents in addition to taking care of your kids. You have to be able to navigate the two. So boom, priorities. Make sure my parents' medication is set. Make sure their appointment is set. And make sure they can able to log into whatever kind of device there is and whatever kind set up their stuff, because technology, we're moving from the paper type style into the digital things, and there a lot of the older generation not hip to that. Then you got the younger generation. Now you have to take care of the younger generation who is growing up with technology. So now you have to mediate how they're working the technology, making sure they're still on point with their books. And that's part of the priorities too. Trying to balance with having the kids learning the technology but not being overwhelmed by the technology. And then on the other side now, you're trying to have the parents, the older generation, being able to accept the new technology and be able to learn more about the technology. So that generation right there is the silent generation. We fall into a certain balance of, man, we got to balance it out, right? I don't even want to talk about it too deep. But then you learn, okay, well, I have to set some priorities. And if your priorities, your goals, and your task, and whatever you're setting is not executed, you have to take accountability. Like, really and truly, when you go out in life and you make a mistake, you can't blame anybody else, right? Like, I was having a conversation in regards to Donald Trump now saying that he might lower the interest rates of credit cards to 10%, right? And a lot of people were saying, yeah, that'd be a good thing. But if you look at it, we're kind of the one that got us ourselves into that predicament, because I'm sure when we signed up for those credit cards or whatever, we saw that, oh, it's going to be 19.9%, especially if it be like a promotion deal. Oh, 6 months, you get cash back, this, and that. And after that, and then, you know, it's going up to 23%. We signed that, you know, so we have to take accountability and take care of our debt. But at the same time, we might need some help. So I don't know, I'll probably just be on here rambling, but some of it makes sense. Line up your goals, right? Line up your priorities and make sure your priorities and goals are lined up together, and take accountability. If you fuck up, then you fuck up, right? But take accountability, right? If take accountability, right? I messed up, I'm gonna take accountability. So let me get on here real quick. Shout outs to Larry the Bomb. How are you doing, Larry? Andre, what's going on, Andre Dill Guidance. Shout outs to y'all. Shout outs to everybody that's on here. Thank you for being on here. Appreciate your time, because your time is one of the most valuable assets that you can have. And I definitely want to thank you for coming on here, sharing your time with me. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you already not subscribed. I'll be talking about a lot of things about mindset, personal development, personal finance, personal financial literacy, all that good stuff that we have to deal with in terms of humans, in terms of living life, in terms of navigating the different challenges in life, and being able to go up against adversity, right? Be willing to go up against adversity, do what you got to do, and take accountability. Line up those priorities with those goals, initiate those tasks, right? And take accountability. So once again, it's NZD. Hope you got some value out of this. Take accountability for what's going on. If you can do better, 1% better each and every day. So once again, I want to thank, shout out to Nicole. Nicole's, is that Nicole or Nicholas? Nicole Suma 67. Shout out to you. So once again, thank everybody that's on here. Appreciate you being on here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, I'm be talking about a lot of things in my journey of being personal, of learning about personal development, develop myself, personal finance, having that mindset right, having a healthy mind, and all that good stuff. All right. So I'll talk to you next time. Peace.